get rich no matter what phase. I wanted to become rich and put myself on a different level in society. And that was what I was focused on. You don't have to wait until you're rich and successful to start trying to live an authentic life.
What about intuition? Can you speak about that? Do you rely on your gut instincts in your deals?
I absolutely believe in the power of intuition. The areas in my life where I got myself, sort of almost in trouble or got myself into a nasty legal battle was when I didn't trust my intuition.
Are you trying to think your way out of everything? I get it. I'm a recovering overthinker too. But here's what I have learned. Your heart actually processes more information than your brain. I know it sounds weird, but it changed how I approach success completely. And I explained the whole thing in a free training. Check it out in the description below.
Welcome back to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Shahid Durrani, the show where we dive into the minds of high-performing, high-net worth entrepreneurs, innovators, world-class leaders. If you're someone who's always looking to grow, push limits, think and do bigger, you're in the right place. Today we have with us Nick Halaris. Nick, he's the president of Metros Capital, a successful investor, real estate expert, and the host of the Nick Halaris Show, where he sits down with people shaping the world in meaningful ways. He's also the writer of Profit Plus, a newsletter that breaks down how to achieve financial freedom while contributing to greater cause. So, my friend, it's absolutely a pleasure to have you on the show.
Shahid, thank you so much, man. I'm excited to have this conversation and appreciate the opportunity to be here and share my story.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love amplifying you guys as much as we can. And I feel that as I grow, I will make every effort to kind of bring as many, whoever is on the show, to amplify them even further. Because the beautiful thing about podcasting is that is in a way evergreen, right? Once you do the episode, it shows up. It keeps showing up for years to come. So that's the exciting part. We'll look different, but the content will still hopefully help people in some way. And we're usually talking about a lot of the driving forces that entrepreneurs experience. But before we dive in, I wanted to share a quick piece of my journey, if you don't mind, that might relate to you and what you do. I didn't have a straight path into entrepreneurship like many, right? I actually started off pretty lost, no direction, just chasing shiny objects all the time. But I always had this pull, this inner voice that said I was meant for something more. And that guidance always protected me from severe issues and good things. And it was always there. I just didn't know what it was until, more recently that I started practicing and working with it. But it helped me multiply the clinic that I was in before, many different things. It's not even a voice, it's more like a drive, a little push. So I just had this vision. I just wanted to go for it, but it was very messy. The internal world was very messy for me. But then until COVID hit, then everything just crashed. And that's actually was my beginning, I feel like, for my life, because that's when I realized I had to go within. It was my beginning of the mindset awakening. It really resonated with me, your mission about building wealth, but about, leaving a legacy, doing good in the world, not just for ourselves, but others. So that was very, very special to me when I saw your name come on the schedule. And was there something that you also went through in your life to realize this crucial part?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I appreciate you, sharing at least a snippet of your own journey.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like in this country here in America, but really all over the world, there's this incredible cultural pull and push that is yelling at young people at the top of its voice, saying like, hey, what you have to do is be successful. You got to get rich. That's where you want to be. It's on our phones. It's on social media. It's literally, and
everywhere.
It's only, in our sort of generation, our lifetime, it's just gotten more and more amped up. And so I am someone who sort of partially fell prey to it, but thankfully had, the benefit of good upbringing and some luck and some good mentors. And I didn't go all the way into it and kind of like end up in midlife where I'm not out where I am now in a total mess. Like I managed to kind of navigate through it, but I made some mistakes along the way. And I had an awakening similar to you, several different types of awakenings. And that sort of spurred me to do what I'm doing now with the content creation and whatnot, the newsletter and the podcast. But yeah, like I've been thinking about this a lot because I've been going on more podcasts and I'm trying to describe it, but let me try to give you a cliff notes because I don't want to take forever because it's a long story, but I kind of dividing my life up into 3 phases, or at least my adult life. There was the phase that I had as a very young adult, which was the get rich no matter what phase. And this is like early 20s to early 30s decade. And
yes.
Fully infected with the ethos and mythology of the American dream and what was going on around me. And I absolutely was going for it. Like that was what I was focused on. And I wanted to go from where I was. You know, I started off with nothing and 250,000 of student loans. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to become rich and put myself on a different level in society. And that was what I was focused on. And then in the middle of that journey, I had ran into some really stressful business situations that caused me to have my first awakening. And then I went into a new phase of my career, which I call, get rich the right way. And so I kind of danced on the line because of some partnership issues and some stupid business decisions, danced on the line of where, I could have gotten myself in real trouble had I made, one tiny decision in a different direction. I could be talking about a totally different story, whether I, either went bankrupt or got myself in serious legal trouble, but thank God I didn't. And so that characterized another 4 or 5 years of activity for me in the get rich the right way, which is like, okay, I'm going to fix all these mistakes, resolve all these legal issues and get myself onto a more peaceful path. And then right around the same time, it sounds like you did in the COVID era, I realized that I had to take it a step further and I had to sort of make the mission the priority and put aside this American dream mythology. And even though I still believe in the idea of pursuing financial success, it's no longer what I'm really focused on. I'm focused on the mission, which is to help people to do this in the way that I stumbled through. So long story short, that's how I'm
No, it's beautiful.
thinking about it. Yeah.
No, it's very, very special to me to hear that story because I can relate to it. And it was very similar for me to have those phases. And I think it is for most people. We go through these phases. We're always changing, right? Change is inevitable. Like my late mentor would say, change is inevitable, but personal development is a choice. And Bob Proctor. And, just going through those phases, when we're in it, we feel like that's it. That's the world. That's life, our perception of life and other people. And then we get consumed into it. And then some shifts happen, paradigm shifts happen, that we go into a different route. I feel like COVID was a big paradigm shift for many, many people. You start hearing professionals speak about mindset, internal world and belief system and how they see themselves. And my focus was always that, like you, it was always money. Like I just wanted to do it and I was for a good why for my family. But whenever you put something on a pedestal, it just goes away. It goes further away from you, right? When you already feel abundant, that you feel oneness with everything in nature, in the universe, when you feel one with it, there is no separation anymore. So there's no more neediness anymore, right? So that way of a peaceful living and creating from that state of calmness, it changes the entire dynamics of the game of life and business, which you are doing right now out there, like going on these tours, sharing your message. You're doing that for people because there's so many out there still maybe stuck in that phase and creating more chaos than necessary. To step back, go within, start working on the internal world. I honestly see it being a mirror to the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Yeah, I feel like if you looked around, at least Western civilization, Western culture, you see all kinds of people who come to this realization maybe too late in life. I ran across this quite a bit in the middle of that journey that I described to you, where you meet some older individual who's phenomenally successful on paper, but not actually living their best life, not living an authentic life, having all kinds of ancillary issues, failed personal relationships
or not even just happy, right?
Or generally unhappy. And then they come and so the sort of typical pattern that I noticed was essentially like after school, at least, people pursued success. And if you were lucky enough to get success, I feel like most people get to a place where they realize the emptiness that comes with that. And then they start to look outside and say, oh, you know what? I want to give back. And so they do charitable activities. And what I realized in my own experience in observing this is that you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait until you're rich and successful to start trying to live an authentic life and start trying to like reorient your activities to where the main focus of your day is trying to help other people or trying to contribute to your community or trying to make the world a better place. You can do that right away. You don't have to wait to be able to name a university building after yourself. That's sort of that's like the worst idea, is to live a horrible life and then do it at the end. You should do it all along the way. And that's what I've been trying to encourage people to do.
Yes. It's so true. It's like when I do this, that's when I'll do that, kind of thing. Is always a means to an end. Really, you can design and create that in the present moment. You can bring the fulfillment now, just have to shift the perception. How you see life and business and other people. And when you make that shift, it definitely there's no doubt that it creates calmness that translates in other people's lives, right? It's starting from within, without. When you work on yourself, you can help other people more. Going to Africa to build a school for the less fortunate is a great purpose. And like you mentioned, a lot of these individuals get to a certain level and they're trying to find that fulfillment. It's okay, I need to give back now. So maybe that's what I need to do. I'll feel better. And I'll start, creating these schools, creating these philanthropy, which are great, obviously, right? But they're trying to search for that. And sometimes it feels like it's still missing. There's something missing.
Yeah, totally. I started to believe in something, maybe it sounds kind of crazy, but I believe it's true, like a natural law of capitalism, which is that in capitalism, you can't extract more than you contribute. So if you think about that, like in a typical business transaction, like the goal of a business transaction isn't to like maximize your returns versus the person that you're working with. It's to create some kind of co-beneficial moment. And so what happens to people is they think capitalism is about winning and about accumulating capital, which it sort of is. But a better way to think about it is to say, I'm going to contribute so much that, wealth may accrue to me, but it's not more than what I've contributed. And once you kind of have that mindset, then you can start to see how capitalism is consistent with the principles of psychology and peak human performance and all the things that are exciting, self-help things that people get excited about. Like capitalism is actually consistent with it if you take that mindset.
So at the end of the day, it is driven by the mindset, how we look at it, right? It's the perception. So. Yeah. So what about intuition? Can you speak about that? Do you rely on your gut instincts in your deals? Obviously, you're doing the data. Obviously, you're doing the underwriting. You're looking at the numbers. But is there a level of that gut instinct that you rely on?
I absolutely believe in the power of intuition. In fact, actually, the areas in my life where I got myself, sort of almost in trouble or got myself into a nasty legal battle that was really unnecessary was when I didn't trust my intuition.
Yes.
And so like you get these signals, you get these really powerful signals inside.
Yeah.
Of, hey, this person really isn't aligned with you. Are you sure you want to do that? And then you rationalize, I need to do it because I want to.
I need to get that money.
You need to get that.
And then, get those revenues.
Every time I've found myself in a difficult business situation, it is 100% hit rate. That earlier in the process, I had some intuition that I just ignored. And I'm trying my best right now to like really keep that channel open because one of the things that I started to realize in that middle phase of my life when I was, really struggling with this mess I had created for myself was that I believe you damage your intuition, the power of it, or the way in which it can communicate to you and at your deepest level when you ignore it. And so if you just ignore, eventually your intuition is going to stop sending you the appropriate signal. And so now I'm trying to do the exact opposite, which is like really trust that gut feeling because I want to keep that open. I want to keep an authentic connection to whatever power that is. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
It's one of those mysteries of life, but it's incredibly accurate. It's accurate.
It's very, very accurate. Very like every situation in my past that saved me was for that little unique type of a feeling. And the way I tell people how to figure that out is you just try to be more self-aware initially. Obviously, it should be a lifestyle, but becoming more self-aware in the past of decisions you made, the ones that you made that got you something, further ahead. Was there a feeling involved, or something that you saved yourself from? Was there a feeling that caused that decision to happen, that you made that decision? And by connecting those dots, you can really quickly find out that message, that voice, that style. There's no word I can explain for it. It's just that special feeling, I guess you could say, to get used to it, to understand it. And you are 110% correct in my world, from my point of view, of what you're saying about the ignoring part, because I tested it even deeper. Because the stuff, like you mentioned, how you would get an indication to do something or take an action, an inspired action, just an example. You will take that action or don't take that action purely based on the thoughts or the past experiences that you make that decision, and you ignore it, you ignore that part because your thoughts, the overthinking is telling you, no, we gotta do this. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen. We're ignoring the help decreases. But when a help comes and we follow that inspired action, say, okay, from tomorrow, you need to make a video every single day for the next 30 days, no stoppages. For example, there's no blocks. You got to do that consistently. And you hear that message come in and you ignore it. You don't do it. I noticed that the ideas or the pushes or the feelings that you get to do certain things, inspired things, they decrease. And when you start actually listening and you following and you asking for more internally, see, now I'm ready for more. See, I'm doing this. And the more you're going into flow, in the momentum, when you start causing that momentum, it starts feeling like you are completely not alone here. There's so much more greater than you can ever imagine that's with you, flowing with you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I totally believe in that. Yeah. I feel like even I've been trying to do it even at like this micro level where I'll get like an intuition where it says, try to think of a concrete example of something that happened recently. Oh, a friend of mine is involved in a phenomenally successful movie, Minecraft. He actually produced Minecraft. And
the one is it coming out right now?
It's out right now. Yeah.
My kids are talking about that. They want to see. No way. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. And you should
tell him to come on the show.
I will. He was on my podcast. He's a really fun guy.
Yeah, I'll love it. If you can introduce us, that'll be awesome, man.
Okay, and take the kids. I took my kids this weekend. It's super fun.
I will.
Okay, so I just thought of this as an example because I know how hard he worked on that. He actually worked almost 17, 18 years on that. He had the rights for it, the script, all this stuff. And I saw that it was blowing up, doing great, huge ticket sales. And I just sent him a nice message. I got this intuition. I'm like, you know what? I should send John a message. I sent him a message and we had a great back and forth as a result of it. There was no goal in mind. It was literally just like my intuition was like, man, you should let John know, that how well this is doing and, tell him congratulations. And so I try to keep that level of connection with my intuition open because, you'll be taking a shower, you'll think of a family member, or you'll be driving in your car, you'll think of something you need to say to your kids. And if the more you listen to it, I feel like the more kind of attuned you are to whatever rhythm is going on in your life and the energies of your life. Not to get all like woo and spiritual, but I believe there's something to it, and it helps you in business. Like for people who are more practical minded, this awareness stuff that you've been talking about and that you mentioned on this podcast, this awareness stuff is like the most important thing you could get good at.
Most important.
Yeah.
It's the foundation.
It's the foundation because you can't operate. You can't even see opportunity. If you're not aware, you can't even see what's in front of you because your brain is like co-opted your whole system. And you're just thinking about your to-do list or whatever you're thinking
past, future, something, right? You're all over the place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, the awareness, the foundation, it feels like everything is emanating from that, right? And the more you spend time in that and the more you stop taking thoughts so seriously, and that was a big game changer for me. It was the most difficult because they say when you're in it, you don't realize it. So when you're in that continuous thought patterns, you don't realize it, right? But with meditation, with work like this, internal work, you can kind of create that gap and start realizing the function. Everything has a reason, but the stories it makes up and the stuff it tries to make you believe about what others are thinking about you, or someone might be in a party and they innocently said something purely, truly from their heart. They just said something, but you took it personal, because the thought tells you that there's something they're attacking. Then you start exploding on that person and the person's like shocked. They don't know. But in reality, that person that exploded, he's also from that awareness. He's from that pure love, from that calmness. The only reason why he kind of bursted out was because of, the thoughts, what they do sometimes, right? So just being aware of that, there's a complete freedom in that on top of it, right? And then from there, trusting the intuition throughout, or trusting God, you may say, in a religious sense, or, in scientific sense, you could say like the quantum realm, whatever, but there's something there. There's something there. And another thing I like to do is the yes or no. I don't know if you heard of it, the yes or no. Some kind of task. Part of my momentum accelerator supervises on my social media. Whoever goes, you find it through a breadcrumbs. You end up on a landing page. It's a free guide. It's highly valuable. I just give it to people and to help them just to get the momentum going. It's in there as well. But what you could do is there are many other games in there as well that I added, but they're fun. You could do it with your kids. You could do it on your own. But this one thing is, say you have something to do or a task for that specific day that is important or it's not important, whatever. It could be anything. You can ask internally, should I do it? And then if you step back, first you have to understand what the yes feels like and the no feels like. So you just have to internally ask, you say, show me what no feels like. And you'll get a little twist in your gut. You'll get this other awkward feeling, and it's different to different people. And then you say, what does yes feel like? And then you'll feel this other type of feeling. And you could do it as fast as right now, actually. If you practice it enough, the yes or no, you start understanding both the communication. So then you can start doing it in a micro events, like you said, right? Should I go left or right, for example, or should I get making small decisions? You can start practicing in it and then seeing the outcomes. And there's a lot of things that you can do that you can start having that trust in you, because you don't need anybody else. We don't need any other podcast, all consuming content on YouTube all the time. We honestly just need to focus on our internal world, and everything that we desire will become available if we have that focus with faith.
I like that idea, and that practice sounds really useful, because what it does is it's just another way to create that space. Like you mentioned earlier, like your thoughts will just run. Yeah. And when you have awareness, what you realize is that like 99% of them are things that you shouldn't pay attention to. And then occasionally your intuition is in there. It's like 1 out of 100 messages is your intuition. Like all the negative stuff, obviously, like anger and greed and jealousy, like your mind will go.
Jealousy.
Yeah, craziness. And then there'll be some good in there. And then what the psychologists figured out in the 20th century, like most famously that Viktor Frankl figured out in Auschwitz, when he was ready, coming up with how to survive that situation, is that you have this power. When people talk about freedom, that's the freedom that we're talking about. You have the power to decide for yourself, but it requires this deep, deep moment to moment awareness. Because you have to know what you're even facing before you can make a decision about it. And for someone who's not interested in this topic, it's kind of hard to describe all this stuff. But for someone who's even like sipped at the well, they get super excited and you could do like a 10-hour podcast with them about this subject, because you get it. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. When you can speak about this in an environment or a gathering, it was just, the eyes will just roll, right? Because it makes no sense. But the people that have some sort of an idea, they get latched on so quick. They're all excited because it resonates. They realize there's something, and no one can stop the truth. When you feel something feels good, you know it. And then when you know it, you just keep taking action, unless the thoughts convince you otherwise, and then you drop it, and years later might be ready, and then you realize it. For me, it was similar. People were coming to me, telling me these things in my entrepreneurship journey. And I thought it was all woo. I thought it was just the individual might need to look at other things. He's wasting his time. Like that was the perception of those professionals that were coming to me. But it was only later when things hit me that they came back and said, well, that is probably what you need. That's probably what you need to work on your inner world. And I'm so grateful, because it doesn't mean if you're not ready right now to understand, that doesn't mean later on when the time is ready, you might be jumping on this. Who knows, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So for viewers on YouTube, please drop a comment. When was the last time your gut led you to a bold decision? Appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you so much, my friend. And keep in touch, Nick. It was great talking to you. Like you said, we could talk about this stuff ever. So I definitely want to continue this relationship because there's so much alignment here. You know, we could do things together. We could do a live together on LinkedIn, talk about this stuff, even events. Who knows? You know, there's always opportunity where we can collaborate on this topic.
Yeah, thanks, Shahid. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm definitely open to all that. Thanks for having me.